Hello this evening. Trying to do a little catch up here. uh, Doing the study from March the 9th, 2025. Just wanted to put it out here just to see if anybody wanted to hear it. And it's still a great story. So, passage from the Bible, not a story. So, I wanted to talk about it. And the lesson of the title of the lesson from this week, from the week that we're covering. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue tied here. Is Let me get that real quick. I have it. Okay. The sign of his grace is the lesson that we had on March the 9th. And yeah, the sign of his grace. And we're going to be looking at the book of John, chapter 4, verses 46 to 54. I'm going to be jumping through the story. So we could break it down real quick, but I'm not gonna make it as long as I usually do, because, like I said, this is just me trying to make up for that weekend. In case anybody wants to hear it, it's still there, right? Okay, so the signs of His grace, right? And the point of this lesson this week is Jesus works in the name of all of those who come to Him, and so we're looking at this story, and this story is second miracle that we see that Jesus did in his ministry, or one of the first signs that he did in his ministry. So let me go ahead and get started, and then we could break it down. Um, John chapter 4 verses 46, and we're going to be looking all the way to 54, but right now we're just going to look at 46 and 47. And it says as follows: As he traveled through Galilee, he came to Cana, um, where he had turned the water into wine. There was a government official in the nearby Capernaum. I think I'm saying that right. Sorry. Whose son was very sick. When he heard Jesus had come from Judea to Galilee, he went and begged Jesus to come to Capernaum to heal his son, who was about to die. Okay, so in this first point right here, and I said Jesus is showing his grace. Jesus works in the name of anybody who comes and looks for him. And so in this verse, in this part of the lesson, what I was taking from it was that we could see that just like in the first miracle, Jesus knew what was going to happen, obviously, because he's perfect. But he knew what was going to happen. Just like he knew that he was going to go to this wedding and people were going to, not people, his mom was going to ask him to turn the water into wine. Um, Jesus knew what was going to happen in this point, right? He didn't go to places just randomly. He knew what was going to happen. And so I see that from my interpretation as already a part of that grace, right? That undeserving grace, that undeserving help that we get from God, from Jesus. We see it right here. Why? Because he was going to this place. When he was going to this place, his government official, which also, kind of makes us wonder, like, how did he know about Jesus? Because Jesus had just started, um, but he did, and so we could see there that um, this man did have faith, that this man did believe. Why? Because Jesus had not had only done the turning water into wine miracle. I don't know if his fame spread from there, or someone, the word got out. Case being is that this person heard about Jesus, went to where he was, and he asked him if he could please come and help his son out. And so that takes very big courage, and that to me is a very big sign of faith. And so he did that, right? Jesus came to where he knew this man was going to meet him. This man came to him, right? And we see that that was a perfect coordination, right? And again, it's got this Jesus showing his grace towards us, right? Because he does the same thing for us, right? God is there for us every single time. It's just a matter of us also looking for him, right? He looks for us, but we also have to make an effort to go out to him, right? And so here we go to the next verse, which is 40 to 50. Jesus asked, will you never believe in me unless you see miraculous signs and wonders? The official pleaded, Lord, please come now before my little boy dies. And Jesus told him, go back home. Your son will live. And then the man believed what Jesus said and started to head home. So in the second part, again, Jesus could have been busy, but he stopped and he talked to him. And again, shows us a sign of the grace that God has for us. God is never too busy for us. Jesus is never too busy for us, right? He did make the comment at the beginning where you never believe in me unless you see miraculous signs and wonders. He was mentioning this to him to kind of like, I don't want to say test him, but, kind of like let him know, like, hey, does it always have to be me being there? Can it happen without me being there? Would you believe if I wasn't there? And the gentleman that asked him didn't get offended by the question. He just said, he mentions again, right? The official pleaded, Lord, please come now before my little boy dies. In other words, hey, I know you're telling me this, but I really, really would like for you to come and help me out because I need your help. My boy's about to die. And so this shows that this person believed in Jesus, like, hey, I know you could do it. Can you please come with me? But Jesus didn't get offended by that. Jesus was not offended by that. But he put him a little bit to the test and said, hey, you know what? Yeah, okay, I'll heal him. But you know what? I'm not going to go with you. You go ahead and go back. I promise you he's going to be okay. And this man believed in him, right? And we see this in this part, right? Then Jesus told him, go back home. Your son will live. And the man believed what Jesus said to him. Man, and that is so hard for us, right? When we read the word that God's going to help us, that we ask him and he's going to help us, it's so hard for us because we want, like he said, will you never believe in me unless you see miraculous signs and wonders? It's so hard for us because we're such a culture of, I want to see signs. I want proof. But this man believed in Jesus, and as he told him, go back home. Your son's going to be okay. This man turned around and started heading home. He could have been like, no, I'm not going to go. I'm going to take you. And like, no, he turned around and he walked back home. He believed what God asked him to do, what Jesus asked him to do. But something we noticed also when he left was Jesus didn't tell him, hey, man, but by the way, I need you to go to church. By the way, I need you to do this for me, or I need you to do that for him. I was like, no. Hey, if you're going to believe in me, go ahead and go home, and he's going to be okay. And so what happens, let's look at 51 to 54. While the man was on his way, some of his servants met him with the news that his son was alive and well. He asked them when the boy began to get better, and they replied, yesterday afternoon at 1 o'clock, his fever suddenly disappeared. Then the father realized that was the very time Jesus had told him, your son will live. And he and his entire household believed in Jesus. This was the second miraculous sign Jesus did in Galilee after coming from Judea. So we see that Jesus works in the name of all those who come to him. This man came to him. This man believed in what Jesus told him to do. And Jesus came through for him. And Jesus could do the same thing for us, right? Jesus does the same thing for us. He definitely doesn't have to help us out, but he helps us out when we come to him because he follows through with what he says, right? And so this man walked away believing Jesus was not there. Jesus did not know who the son was, but he healed him. Man asked about what time he was healed, right, to confirm. And the servants told him, and it was exactly the same time. So what happened? Jesus didn't tell him to believe. Jesus didn't tell him that you need to go to the church after this, that you have to follow me. No. But that man replied by believing, and his whole family replied by believing, because they saw that God is in control of things, right? So tonight, in this lesson, there's three things, right? When we come to him, he is willing to help us, right? Again, he doesn't have to, but he does, because again, his grace is so big, and he works for all of us who look for him, right? When we obey and have faith in him, he's going to help us. When we obey him, we can gladly go to him, and he's gladly going to be helping us out. This man didn't obey Jesus before he knew him because he didn't know him, but he knew of him, and he went to him because he had faith in him. So therefore, we have the privilege of knowing of him. So therefore, when we come to him, we should know the things that he could do for us. Now, God's not blackmailing us like, hey, you better do this right or else I'm not going to do that for you. Like, no, 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 no. But when we're sincere with God, we're going to do things correctly for him. And so therefore, when we come to him, he's gladly going to listen to us because we've already tried to do things right for him. We're not perfect, obviously, but he will make those things for us when we try to obey him and do things correct for him. And not just that, we also need to remember the times that he's done something for us. And just like the family that believed in him, those of us that already believe in him and have him in our heart, we have to try to get closer to him because, again, he's not a good luck charm. He shows us his grace because he wants to. He shows us his favor with us because he wants to. He doesn't have to. But every time he does do that for us, we should be getting closer to him as much as we can because, again, Jesus works for those who, in the name of those who come and look for him, right? And so those things are important for us. But the other thing that's also important is that if we don't have Christ in our heart, then we definitely need to have him in our heart. Because if we don't, then none of this. We could come to God. We could come to Jesus as many times as we want. We could beg him. But if we don't have him in our heart, then it's like we're asking a complete stranger who doesn't want to share something with us, right? And so this evening, right, I invite you that if you don't have Christ in your heart, that you say, hey, Jesus, I know that you died on the cross for me. I know that you resurrected on the third day. I know that I'm a sinner, and I know that I need you in my life, and I would love for you to come into my heart so that way I could follow you from this point on. And he will come into your life, and you could, from that moment, come to him with anything, and he's going to show you his grace. All right, thank you so much. I hope everybody has a good week.